Okay, so this video is going to be one out of three that I am planning on making about atheism, Christianity, and Islam respectively. The reason I am making videos about these three is because they are the three major players in the world as we know it today. They are the largest and most significant from a socio-political standpoint. In these videos, I'm going to be criticizing each of them harshly, even though I am actually a member of one of these three groups, because all three have faults that need some strict criticism. This video specifically is going to be about atheism, or more specifically, fundamentalist atheism. Now, why is my first video going to be about atheism? Well, it's because of the three categories, the atheists I meet tend to be the most hypocritical. So why is that? Well, have you ever heard the argument that atheism is a religion? If you're watching this kind of video, the odds are you have, so let's look up the word in a dictionary. What does religion mean? Religion means the belief in a god or higher power of some form. So theism is the belief in God, atheism is the belief in the lack of a god. So technically atheism can't be a religion from a literal standpoint. So how can atheism be called a religion? How does this point have any merit? Well, I'll tell you how. One of the most frequently used methods of criticizing religion that I see used by most atheists I meet, then again, maybe I just meet a lot of stupid people from all three categories to be fair, but something I see happening very often is atheists will make the claim that, they'll claim to me that the world would be a better place without religion, and state-mandated atheism would be a good thing. On top of that, most atheists say to me that they only concern themselves with what can be scientifically proven. Both of these arguments are logical fallacies. So something a lot of atheists do to criticize religion is look at religion not as a belief in God, but on the practical problems it causes to the world. When you look at the world, religion in the practical scope, and disregard the superficial, you're left with the word being the short form of one of the following phrase, basically. I'm going to read it off to you. A religion is a set of faith-based personal beliefs that can be used to exploit and extort other individuals, affecting both those who follow this faith and the surrounding non-believers. But the thing is, when you define religion by that phrase, atheism is also a religion because it matches that exact definition. As I said a moment ago, most atheists I meet claim to only concern themselves with what can be scientifically proven, but as Dogbert would put it, a lot of them don't actually do that. Many rely on media reports that scientific evidence exists and don't ever see the evidence themselves. The common excuse is something along the lines of, I'm much too busy to go research things myself with my job and my kids. But by that logic, if I post false information on the internet and trick people with it, they're not gullible or stupid, they're just busy. So the chief crime of atheism is that it is a faith-based personal belief system that criticizes other faith-based personal belief systems for being faith-based. Do you see the problem here? You cannot scientifically prove that there is a God, nor can you prove that there is not one, and by picking either side, you have to fill in the blanks with faith. Someone who would like to concern themselves with the pursuit of truth should not identify themselves as an atheist. They should identify themselves as a free thinker, someone who is actually pursuing information and has an interest in scientific research and facts, but hasn't really decided either way on what their own beliefs are. Picture this. There's a group of people out in the rain. The rain is reality. The rain is the universe. There are two umbrellas. One is religion and one is atheism. Both are being held by a smelly, unattractive person. To cope with the rain, the reality, some people go under the religion umbrella. Perhaps because of the fear of being judged, or perhaps because they think they can earn their way into something better. The other people go under the atheism umbrella, maybe because they don't want to believe someone will judge them, and would rather pretend that there's no judge so they will never be held accountable. Maybe for some other reason. But what I often see is the people under the atheist umbrella stand next to the smelly guy, hold their nose closed with one hand, and then yell at the people under the religion umbrella for being next to a smelly guy. The fact is that by every definition, atheism has to involve faith. And faith is the predominant means that atheists that I meet tend to use to criticize the religious. Most atheists I meet cannot present me with scientific evidence when asked to, after claiming that they rely on only what can be scientifically proven. Then again, maybe I just meet the bad ones of the bunch. But here's the problem. This creates a logical fallacy. If we used the exact same logic being used by atheists to justify their point of view in this situation, we would be left without the knowledge that germs exist. So let's scroll back a few hundred years, before the era of microscopes. People thought it was ridiculous that tiny creatures that we could not see were making people sick. This couldn't be proven with any scientific evidence existing at the time, so it was considered laughable. But as it turns out, many years later, we got this new little tool called a microscope, and suddenly we know, hey, those guys weren't crazy. And now we have things like medicine, and we wash our hands. But it's that exact same logic, it can't be proven so I refuse to believe in it, that led to the belief that germs don't exist. A properly formed argument for atheism should never be based on this. At best, current atheism can present some counter-evidence for some specific religions' specific accounts of specific incidents. There is no concrete evidence against the existence of a higher power, and claiming that there is a faith-based claim. It is indisputable that this is a faith-based claim. Now, the next counter-argument to this that I am usually presented with is the idea that because the beliefs are sufficiently different, that being religion and atheism, that the world would be a better place if religion were removed and replaced with atheism. But this points out atheism's second flaw, which is the refusal to consider and do research despite claiming to be scientific in nature. There is actually a case of a nation that banned religion and included state-mandated atheism. Most atheists that present me with this argument don't know about this nation, or, the state-mandated atheism, or that it was ever actually done, which indicates to me an inherent lack of research on the topic. Now, can you guess which nation did this? Before I spoil it, let me elaborate. I am frequently told that without beliefs in a God, we wouldn't have the conflicts resulting from the interpretations of God's will, the Crusades, for example, or the 9/11 terrorist attacks. The idea is that in a world without religion, things would just be better because people wouldn't be being manipulated by religions. But that claim is based on little to no evidence. Now, I'm going to spoil it for you. The nation that tried to mandate atheism was the Soviet Union. Things didn't work out so well for them. Granted, they had many other problems apart from personal beliefs, all of which contributed to the Soviet Union's collapse. So you can't blame lack of religion on the Soviet Union's downfall, as a lot of Christians and Muslims would like to claim. But you also can't say that their society was somehow better or had any inherent benefits from lack of religion. Did the Soviet Union gain any sort of benefits to society due to a lack of religion? Did things change for them because religion was removed? No, they didn't. Not in any noticeable or noteworthy capacity. So the idea that a world without religion would be a better world is a claim based on no evidence, which is a big contradiction to be used by a belief that claims to support itself with scientific research and evidence. They can argue that without Islam the 9/11 terrorist attacks wouldn't have happened, but this is a short-sighted argument. Because back in the Crusades, it was the Catholic Church that wanted to invade and kill for the sake of its beliefs. Nowadays, it's argued that the Muslims are doing the same thing. And in another 300 years, if atheism became a powerful majority, it could very well be atheism trying to impose laws to force other people to conform to their beliefs. Tack on a few hundred years and we can have Bible book-burning ceremonies, discrimination against people who hold different opinions than atheists, and the atheists believing that they are right and religion will corrupt their population. As such, religious people must be exterminated and ground out of existence for the greater good. That sounds a lot like the same fundamentalist dogma used by the Catholic Church and by Muslim jihadists. It's the same old brand of garbage. It's just being given a different coat of paint. The world will not become a better place due to a lack of religion, because religion is frequently used as a tool to support other ends. And if it wasn't religion, it would be something else. It's like blaming an AK-47 for shooting someone because the AK-47 is such an easy weapon to use, and totally ignoring the fact that other guns can kill just as good. They might just be a little bit harder to learn how to maintain. And no thought is given to blaming the person holding the gun. So by every logical, rational definition, atheism is a faith-based belief. So an atheist mocking a Christian or a Muslim for having faith is rather ironic. The idea that the world will be a better place without religion, which is also a common argument I see from atheists, is also ironic in that it is a claim based off of little to no evidence, coming from people who usually pride themselves on the scientific evidence and research they do to supposedly support their claims. So what's my recommendation? Well, anyone looking to call themselves an atheist as a means of not conforming to being a Christian or a Muslim or whatever faith is trying to recruit you, shouldn't identify themselves as an atheist. They should identify themselves as a free thinker, someone who knows that they don't possess all the information in the universe, and as such will keep an open mind. Wanting scientific proof of something does not make you an atheist, nor does being an atheist automatically entitle you to never look at any research and call yourself informed or intelligent. A free thinker isn't sure if God does or does not exist. A free thinker might have a guess and might alter their behavior based off of that guess, and might be an estimated rational guess based on some evidence, but that does not make them an atheist or a Christian or a Muslim or anything else. A lot of people I meet become atheists without ever doing any research, and I think this is because they have an inner sense of fear of being judged, of being condemned. So they would rather stick their heads in the sand and pretend that God doesn't exist, and ignore any evidence presented to them because they would rather live in a delusional existence that denies reality and denies science and denies research. In this case, the claim that science is used to back up their choice to become an atheist is quite simply false. It's a lie. And I view these people as incredibly cowardly. If you are an atheist, it's good to be one that came to that conclusion off of the information that you have open to you, and retain the right to alter your opinion when presented with more evidence, and keep in mind that you never possess all information. And a lot of atheists that I meet forget that. It's okay to be an atheist and have your own opinion and your own rationalization, so long as it's actually a rationalization and not a self-delusion. Because of this, I tell atheists that it's better to identify themselves as free thinkers, not as atheists. Anyway, that's all I had in mind for talking about atheism, so leave a comment, flame the video, say that I'm an angry Christian that hates atheists, or whatever, even though I never actually told you which group I was aligned to, not yet anyway. And if you have the balls for it, maybe you can watch my criticism of Islam and my criticism of Christianity. I'll see you next time.